Made it! I apologize to David. This was a shit show. As you guys can tell, everybody watching on here, I already did. In the back of the lab, and I can't turn shit. So that's all. But so I post up and show on there, and I so smart SMRT, just did not get anything right on there. So, anyways, welcome all to the main event. It's your boy D, the Bill and Pops, coming at you with more fun. Happy Veterans Day to all. To all our men and women out there, this is very, very deep to me as well. I wanted to hit off right away. Is that it's not just a one-day thing for me, anything like that there. You are going to see me pissing with this. I'm sorry. Squirrel, plus I got so many shinies. Anywho. Anyways, what these men and women have gone through, I guess I got to take today because sometimes just people take per day on there. Mad love to my sister. I'm praying for you. Hoping you're getting better, hon. I love you to death. I know you got smacked up with COVID on there and it really laid you out. I love you very much. Just know that from the bottom of my heart. And praying and you're always on my mind. Also, it's a big deal to me. A kid I mentored back in the day, made Army Ranger. My whole left leg, for those that know that, I've covered and what I am and whatnot. Also, it's all military related. My grandfather served in Korea. And some of the posts have you seen with Derek Waite was just somebody I saw at Home Depot. This was months ago, and he was in his fatigues. I always like to go up and just say and shake their hand and say thank you. Thank you for what you service. Thank you for what you've done. Get in front or get behind. It's plain and simple. But anyways, for those enjoying it, for those that I work for the government, so I love government holidays as well. And that's about all I'm going to leave to that there. But anyways, so I want to get into it here. I want to obviously always thank my sponsors that have really helped me grow into doing all this here and then into this. It's just been so incredible. It's been so amazing on so many aspects. Doug Campfield with D&D Designs, 3D printing, basically. He's what started it all. He's the reason why I made Cade there. We just started jamming. It wasn't the very first light box, essentially, I've ever made, but I compare that one to this one. That is shit. But I still have the poster. Thank God it's a Punisher one from the movie. And that's why I'm probably get banned on Facebook. But anyways, see this here? Full-handed. 3D printing. He hand paints, everything like that. He's got new equipment and is rocking it out. Doug, thanks for everything you do for me, man. As always, just a big help on everything. We mind meld, and that's why these ideas come to life like they do. Anyways, going on. Lots of sugar today. I'm sorry, I ate a lot of sugar today. Alfred, Doobie-Doo, T-Virus, Trujillo, and Karen Nicole of 183 Degree Studio. They're my fam. It was Kara's live stream when I made that one on there for her that started this all. And back in January, and that's forever engraved in my heart. You guys have been there for me through the worst and the better, and it's your support is nonstop. Amazing. They're always killing it. Just wrapped up a very successful Kickstarter again as well with their calendar and cosplay and book, which I'm sure, as always, will be on the go, all that other stuff. And you know me, I'll be posting it and putting it on blast. The reason also I bring in HRH Purchase Joel Shannon. She works with Kara and them on there. She is the one that makes these wicked little, these are tiny ass little jewels, shorts, something like that. Anyways, painstakingly puts that on there. Just amazing what she does. I had the blessing of doing her on there, art on there, and it was just mind blowing. I don't know how, when I compare the patience to some of this stuff here, how she does that. Wendy Steen Shaner, Bill Shaner as well, brother man. Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins. I got to check in. I believe it's in January. She's going to have another con kind of thing. So look forward to that as well. They're great support. Unbelievable, undeniable. I love you so much, Wendy and Bill, to death. I miss you guys. I hope you're doing well. I know you're out there crushing it. Anyways, I just got a notification something got blocked. Who knows? I'll take a look. Anyways, April Reyna Art, one that's been on for a couple shows. Just had another very successful Kickstarter, just blown away. She's up and on it, on the grind, on the crush there as well. Russell Allen with Russell Studios. He does comics book for kids, and I take this little part on here because it's very important and special to me. People that donate, he raises money. He's officially a part of this nonprofit organization that raises money through people that donate and through these auctions, and that cash then and that money there is then taken to buy certain things for kids, such as, such as, I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch up. Take a breath. Figures, comics, all this other stuff. It's amazing. And speaking from someone that was growing up, that had a lot of issues on that there, just to get something like that, just it changes the kid's world, which I'll be posting in there as well. Post up on that. He also does Book with Hearts. Russ, thank you so much for everything, because you're my inspiration for doing all of this here and how epic it's grown. Melissa Malone with Malone Management. The name says it all. She goes through and does so much with help on Kickstarters. If you hit her up on there, she offers like a don't quote me, but I know there's a free session just to start, to give you the ideas. If you're looking for backing and need help with this and this and here, much like I do with my business analyst on all this, and more than anything, nerding out, she is by far one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. Sweetest, Lisa, keeping you in my thoughts and prayers as well, as you are just awesome. Alton Simpson, Three Heads Production, which is at Westchester, Vampires of New Jersey. I had the privilege of one of my main shows here closing out the Witches of Westchester Kickstarter down to the second. It was awesome. It was so much fun. He's grown through so much and more, so to speak, with everything is kicking off. Vampires of New Jersey is coming at us here pretty soon, actually, probably within a month or so. I don't want to overpromise, underdeliver, so I don't want to speak for someone without knowing the hard facts. JT Malloy, Pumpkin Comics, man, I just love you to death. Sapphire Spectra, just kind of hidden. I gotta move that. Anyways, out there killing it. I love this guy. He's just mad work. And finally, Hero and Villain Designs, actually just about 10 minutes down the road from me, who actually, through a lot that I've seen and listed on here, does a lot of the printing. But Krista Crawford, who has the Kickstarter out right now, just blown away by it all and support, and I love to keep seeing that on there. She is on the front lines of a lot of this, with taking care of kids and all this other stuff there. With she's in the pediatrics. She started with reading with kids, and now she's got her third comic out, Wolf and I, Tides of Truth. It's the third one out. It's on Kickstarter right now. I'm gonna be putting that on blast. It's so awesome how it's taken off. And they do so much more as well with prints and everything. So finally, there's somebody I just wanted to throw out. You know who you are. You're my thoughts and prayers in my heart. You always got to speak that love, because when you speak the love, it always echoes back. And so, you're my thoughts and prayers. Know I'm here for you. Holler if you need me. Just like so many other listed on here. I love just helping. You'll get through it, man. I know you will. So with that, I will finally bring the guy who's just been chilling like a villain with me, and we're going to nerd out like a Mo. I can see him in there real quick here. Check out. I'm going to be posting on there too. What's up, brother, man?
Hey, Dustin, how are you?
Good, bro. Thanks for putting up with me while I was running around with Batman.
No problem at all. Great. Great to be finally with you and be talking with you.
I know, man. This is awesome. Geez, dude, I was mentioning too. I was looking at your stuff on there, and all of a sudden, click to buy Amazon.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
I saw that on there. I meet so many amazing people and artists and all this other stuff, and checking your stuff out. I'm like, you got a budget better, bro. You got to keep on the budget, because I swear, man, it's been a blessing too to meet so many awesome people
Mhm.
and see so much cool stuff. And I get into it, and I'm backlogged on getting caught up on some of the ones I have,
Yeah.
some series. But yeah, it was great. I'm glad to have you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff out there right now, especially indie stuff. People just going crazy with their ideas, and it's amazing. It's amazing to be a tiny, tiny part of it.
See, it's funny you said that, because that's also the way I tend to feel on some of it. But being the tiny community, it's such a tight knit one as well, that it's just amazing how everybody takes care of kind of one of another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like backing and helping, and
Mhm.
I mean the comments I receive, I feel like I don't deserve for doing some of the stuff that I have, just reposting stuff like that, Kickstarters, and doing this stuff here. It's just because I just love doing it. But everybody is just everybody, you get what I'm saying, but been so kind. So like comments on this other stuff, it's just like, I could have used you people about 10 years ago, but hey, I'm still
Yeah.
I'm just so happy to have us here, and doing what we're doing right now, and getting to meet great people.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I've been watching the process of your background. It looks amazing.
Thanks, bro. It's been really cool actually to I have them going on there, obviously, because I'm finally getting to the part where, especially around this area, at least in AZ, as I'm just outside of Phoenix, I can at least drive, some of these around and stuff like that, because they're my babies. And you know how things are going right now. And like we talked about prior, that I don't bring up much here, but because it's probably not a good idea. But anyways, knowing kind of what's going on, I'm really also impressed, speaking of, with the indie and all the comics and stuff, how people, they are working their asses off to make sure too, whatever they send, that it is in care, because they know, guys like myself, for instance, you're out on the East Coast, I'm over here. And what I love about a lot of this here is I get to still experience what I can't go to, like my local comic book shop and see, where they have indie, and it's like, the size of this is my Cade 6 is my movie poster, is what I call it. Very first one I made that was actually legit, and the rest just grew from blacklight to this one, by the way. I gotta show you. This is LT Torres. Luis Torres. I do that all the time. This is so fun because it is, I made it as a gentleman's club one.
Sure.
But it is sound activated. And so I could tune in, and then I made a Joker one that everybody felt, and I loved it too.
Yeah.
Then I played, I got so much background noise going, but you just got to tune it just right to get the sensor going. But I could, get what I'm saying on there. And I've just had so much fun. And you know what a lot of it is too, is it's these stretch goals and everything from, these Kickstarters and all that. And I've gotten such great fun stuff to work with and for Kara Nicole, who was my first, who I just said, hey, in honor of Firebitch 2 killing it, I'd love to just build that one. And then you see him, I've seen him in the backgrounds, like with Alfred, her husband and everything. And it's just, So trying to get to a point of at least being able to, and thanks to Russell Allen, everybody's giving great ideas. These little comic book ones, and for even when cons and stuff like that, to set up on there to kind of bring. They work off of their light, very lightweight, so I can also fix them. But I do dual light. They can work off of an AC outlet, or if you don't have one, your little rechargeable batteries for cell phones, stuff like that, and tons of different ways you can do the lighting. And I love creating the background. I do everything by hand from start to the end. It's all started on there. I mean, what better feeling do you get? Let's say, like a piece of yours, which is just, which I love, by the way. Getting to see all these styles and badass, by the way. But like Ruben Rosas here, this is the one that I've now located as I'm trying to work in this room now, getting set up with more of a permanent one. The bad spot, because I'm fighting lighting with lighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's hard to see, but I painted over this for fun. This is from Wendy Steenshaner's Naughty Fairy Strippers Assassin one from number 4. Actually, it was leading into 5. I just used neon and I added more because I love cherry blossoms and the geisha look and all that. And this was my first black light one on there. And the coolest thing is I messed around with it, and you know how that black light, when it really hits on there, it's like it charges the background. Yeah. So the moment I were to unplug it or anything like that, which I'm not going to mess right at the moment, I'll have to show you sometime. It goes in the dark.
Awesome.
Behind it.
Yeah.
So, but it's all thanks to, again, like just, people like yourself and everything like that, that provide so much of this.
Kill it, man. It looks awesome.
But so thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, I was just looking because I'm just excited on this here, but anyways. Anywho, I wanted to see the block because I'm like, I love getting this stuff out like yourself. But anyways, so your main one being the Offspring.
Yes.
And like we were talking, right into my head. Because I'm almost 39. So I was listening to a few of the tunes last night while I was doing all this and kind of checking stuff out and everything like that.
Sure.
So hit us, bro.
Yeah, a big fan of the Offspring growing up. Also, I actually met Dexter Holland. I think it was in 2000. The lead singer of the Offspring. It was around 2000. Yeah. He was touring with No Doubt and doing some guitar stuff for No Doubt. And we somehow got backstage and met the band No Doubt and met Dexter Holland. It was awesome. But yeah, the Offspring is my 50-issue maxi series comic that I'm about to. I just put out issue 17, and I am currently working on issue 18 right now. My plan is to get it out. If I can get it out before the New Year's, then I'm doing pretty good. But it might probably be more like the second week of January. For the most part, I have some people that come and help me out from time to time. But for the most part, I'm a one-man band on most of my comics. I do all the writing, the art, the inking, the lettering, the coloring, the publishing, the everything, and I'm really just doing it because I love storytelling and I love comics and I love the medium and I love doing what I'm doing, and doing it with the support of my family makes it all the better.
Amen to that, man. Mm-hmm. And so you literally are basically, the one-man band on that. Mm-hmm. There, where you just, like you said, just wow, start to finish. Yep. Again on that there. So, well, that's what I was going to ask you about because, for instance, so now again, this is something in a roundabout way I've always loved. I've always dug in as this kid, get in my dad's comics and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I've learned so much even by doing these shows and everything. Like I had Carl Dutchin on, who's a color flatter, nice. Who is just amazing on there. And he had a piece, and I totally understand. I never want anybody to jeopardize anything they're working on or anything like that, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, a piece of they did with DC with like a Green Lantern deal that, he was okay to show and kind of showed me that on there. And I was like, yeah, there is a lot of depth to a lot of this. You know what I mean? And it even got me into, just thinking of these. My brain never shuts off anyways. So it's like all these just kind of stories. I'm like, my God, as far as art goes, I'm like, my art is displaying your art. You know what I mean? So it's like, I have all this in my head, but it's like, well, let's get this and this first. But the beautiful part about this again is having people like yourself on as guests that I learn from. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing, dude. So, I mean, I was looking at this here. So it's number 17. Mm-hmm. It's out right now. You said, and I was also looking here because I do. It's pretty sweet. To I'm such a mix, bro. Like where it's you can get issues, you know, in said book or something, right? And so that way they're all together, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But I also love having the individuals.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. That's one of the reasons I always make sure that I have individuals first with a really cool cover, something that's really going to draw people in. I hope. I have volume 4 of the Offspring that's collecting issues 14, 15, and 16 about to come out next week. But I have here's volume 3 right here, and I with volume 3 with issues 11, 12, and 13, and it actually has a backup issue of one of my. Let me show you an example with one of my one-shots coming out.
I want to do this here a minute. I want to do
pages there
and do that.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm getting it down more, but
that's okay. Just showing off some pages. Let me see if I can get them in there. Just showing off some of those pages of volume 3. But I actually put out the omnibus that collects all the issues 1 through 13, and I think it's got a really great cover. Here's just another page.
Actually,
get it in there.
Yep, I have it up on my other monitor. I have like we said, nerding out, right? I have it all turned up, so I love. I usually will take like what you guys have, and I'll have it there. But I always love it, when you're able to show like you have, like I have on there. But I'm like, oh yeah. Well, I could whip that up right on the side because I'm looking at it right now, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm in this 1 through 13. So when you name a lot of that, like the Whalen volume, Offspring volume 2. Let me switch back here so it's not so. Okay. But anyways, you know what? Let's do this. Yeah. Okay. So here we got. So like us, like we were sitting here. Ooh, actually, totally forgot. I wanted to switch that out. I love messing with the little things. Sometimes this goes a little wonky on me, but yeah. So on here. Well, you were just showing, right? I'm in this right here that has all the issues, so you can get it from start to finish.
Yeah, what I'm calling,
finish, but you know what I mean.
What I'm calling the first season, issues 1 through 13, the first season, and it really answers some questions about. So let me give you a little quick my elevator pitch for the Offspring. So it starts off with 3 young adults who are all in their early 20s, and they have all known each other because they grew up in an alternative school because they were taken away from their parents, their home, because they were all physically or mentally abused in some way. They start to, when they meet each other, they start to realize that they aren't only connected because of their really messed up past and their really messed up home lives, but they're also connected to each other because they seem to have this psychic mental link to each other. And they don't really understand why. They kind of push each other away because of it. And then when we meet them up again in 20 years from now, and this is when they meet, they're around 10, 11, or 12. When they meet up again, they're in their early 20s, and 2 of the 3 characters, sorry about the phone call, 2 of the 3 characters are going through they're at the lowest point of their life. One of them is just getting out of prison. One of them is Sarah, is just getting out of prison. Vince has, and I'm going to explore some of that in the next couple issues here. Vince has had something really traumatic happen to him, but his whole life has been a struggle for him. He is he's really considering committing suicide. Will is the 3rd character who seems to have it all together. He actually works at the alternative school with his mentor, who is the owner of the alternative school. Her name is Miss Blake. And he seems, when we meet him, he seems to be doing okay. But I wanted to show that difference between doing okay, looking like you're doing okay, and actually doing okay. As the series kind of rolls on through the issues, you start to see the cracks in Will. You start to see the where the foundation isn't quite as sturdy as you think it is, and you start to see the places where you start to realize he's struggling just as much as the other 2 characters are. And as the story progresses through the first 13 issues, they start to realize that there was one of them. We think there's three. There's actually four of these characters, and one of them has been completely forgotten by them. She is trying to connect with them through a psychic link and trying to have her find them. We start to realize why she was forgotten, why she was taken away from them, and it's their search for her that propels us into what's going to be what has been season 2, issues 14, 15, 16, which is a time travel story into the American Civil War. And then issue 17, which is the start of them doing a search for them in our time, in the 21st century now, to be able to try to find this character, Megan, who is missing.
First off,
in between all that, lots of monsters and mayhem and craziness and fights and all that kind of stuff.
First off, okay. One, for me personally, too, you hit home. The other thing, and this is, I know people give me shit all the time for it. I know I do ramble as when I live by myself and, get off work, and this is what I love. So I love the personal interaction. That's why I love doing this. And I was so happy you were down.
Yeah.
And now this even proves even more, because I actually wrote a paper for my bachelor's. Believe it or not, when I tell people, I'm like, I have 3 degrees. I have a degree in electronic technology, nice. Biomedical equipment technology, and my bachelor's is in business analyst management. So nice. I can fix electronics, I can fix hospital equipment, and I can analyze and manage your business in a way, right?
Awesome. You can actually do stuff.
Yeah, I'm very DIY, bro, because I grew up on a farm.
Oh, wow.
For 31 years in South Dakota. We didn't have, it wasn't one of those, and I joke with, but it is the truth. If you asked me about 15 years ago, I'd kind of be like, it was kind of, now I'm eternally grateful for it. We didn't have a choice. We were out picking rocks.
Yeah.
We were out throwing hay. Cows got out. I got yelled at to get my ass out there, to get them and all this other stuff, right? It was those values instilled. But given the circumstances of it, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody or anything on there, but a lot of it was very much on the, certain issues or anything like that come up, right? You keep them to yourself.
Yeah.
And you start to bottle set up. And that's kind of what happened to me and everything like that. And if it wasn't for my mentor, rest in peace, who passed on, you never know what time we have, right? And it was when I moved down here too, it was another life-changing. And then getting to this was life-changing. This whole year's been nuts. And, when you said, kind of building up to that is what I like to let people kind of know. I'm a man of my word. I stick to that because there's pride in that. And so, I also know my grandmother, if I miss, will whoop my ass if I didn't, you know what I mean? And growing up with that and my dad. And so, we repurposed everything. We also did everything ourselves by hand if we could, because, that's how they were raised. It was passed down. My grandfather, I still kind of contend one of the greatest generations because, if you listen to All That Remains.
The band, yes, I've heard. I wouldn't say religiously, but I've heard of him. Yeah,
I met Ole before he passed.
Oh yeah,
nice. He is an amazing guitarist, such a humble dude. That was heartbreaking, but they have a song called "The Greatest Generation," and the lyrics, because I'm heavy into this, because I make beats as well. CB Zane, I made about an hour's worth for him to just play in the background, so that way he had it during his live artist shows, but when it wasn't getting flagged. Yeah. I love doing this stuff. I love dabbling. But going into this even more, they say my father's father, may God rest his soul, he taught me something you should know. You put your fingers you put your nose to the grindstone, you work your fingers straight to the bone. I won't let them leave us. And it's with those people. And the way I kind of been tying that into the degrees, and when I volunteered as emergency management, I saw a lot of ugly stuff. But I decided to study as an EMT as well. It's how people perceive, and right now the social media aspect for me with Facebook and all that stuff it's tough, because I wrote my paper on it too from a business analyst, is that I can see, just as you stated, how, people can put on a front.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to make your life look like it's awesome.
Yeah.
By a single post.
Yeah.
And it's heart-wrenching in a roundabout way, because then I do get some that reach out to me, this, but they want to, the mask, and it's tough. And like you said, where, just as you said in your storyline, which was fresh in my head, it's still there, but that hit big time. And I got one other piece, just because I love it, and the interest is the Civil War stuff. I love history, and I love that kind of stuff. But anyways, how these kids, I mean, my God, your sales pitch alone, bravo. For someone like myself, and I know others too. God damn it, David. Why do I gotta wait till Monday? Anyways, but when you said that, putting on that front, it's where you can make it look like, and social media does that now. Unfortunately, it's the tool to interact because of what we're going through, but it's the tool we have as well. I mean, even for me, besides with StreamYard, where I upgraded that, which wasn't a big deal because I love it. I love being able to do this, and I'm working on a comic slam, by the way, to get artists such as yourself to meet all these other great ones that I've met, that maybe, there's something that can be helped with. You get what I'm saying? That it's, networking, but it's building that family. It's building a family more, together. And we can hide behind this stuff so easily.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, until you find them those right people, like you said, with your characters, right? They come from that. I love my father, but it was a lot of that, I can tell. But God bless him, he said, Dustin, he goes, at least you've always been able to express it.
Yeah.
Where it was difficult in there. And wow, dude, I mean, just freaking wow.
Well, I think one of the things for me, especially in the Offspring, is I came up with these characters. I probably shouldn't say it out loud, but I'm an old man. I'm 46 years old. And I came up with these characters when I was around 18. So I've been holding on to them for a while, and really wanted to wait until I knew that I was ready to tell the story in the way that I wanted to tell the story. So I went back to school, got a teacher. I've been a teacher for 15 years. I worked as a graphic designer for 10 years before that. Just trying to keep building my knowledge about it. But when I first initially came up with these characters, I knew they were going to have superpowers and all that kind of stuff. But it's not really the most important thing about them. For me, it was about trying to make them people that you might know in your real life, people that had problems, people that had issues, people that were not always going to do or say the right thing, to give them those real personality traits of people that I knew growing up, and to give them problems that would not be solved in 24 issues of a comic book. So issues and problems that would be with them their entire lives. And you can punch it as hard as you want, it's not going to go away. And these are things that I wanted to really explore through the entirety of the series, to the point where their issues, I make the joke, as an old man, you're starting to feel that your back hurting more, and you get up from the couch and your legs hurt a little bit more, like all that kind of stuff. I make the joke that now the pain is just a friend that accompanies me on the journey. So these internal struggles are the characters that everybody goes through, on some level, some more than others, but these internal struggles are just friends that join them on the journey. And I want them to get to a point not where they don't have these struggles anymore, but they realize that they can overcome those struggles, they can overcome those feelings, they can overcome those issues that they have, to still be the best person they can be, just maybe a little bit broken along the way. And that's okay. Everybody is on some level.
Dude, you don't have no idea how much, like you said, when you put that background, how many others I've met is that well. Luis Torres, I was telling you about on there. So awesome. And CB, and I love when I read on Kickstarters, right? I do like to look at their stories. Because like I tell people for certain, a lot of stuff, you know, they're here to stay because, you know, there's definitely needs to be some tweaks and stuff to it in general, but it's a way, again, for myself. If I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't know nothing about this.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to tell you this much. I'm going to have this on effing blast. When I was a mentor for my mentor, I saw a lot of broken. And it was because I could relate to my own broken.
Yeah.
But even though I always say, even though it's not, you know, you will never truly understand what said person is going through, but you can, you know, you can relate. There is a relationship to it. And that's what I try to tell people as well. Is like, listen, you know, I don't know. I'm not going to try and blow smoke up your ass and tell you I know. I totally understand. But, you know, I can relate. I've had those deep enough feelings that I believe, you know, it's, you know, there's as much because music is my life as well. And it's so funny you said about the story thing, because I've had one building in my head as well now, you know, almost 39, that, you know, the anime Bleach. It's one of my absolute favorites. I don't know if you know it or not.
I'm familiar with it, yes.
Yeah, so the main character struggles with, he's got so many different parts, but he mainly struggles with what's called a hollow, his demon. He knows that he can draw immense power from it if he needed. But he doesn't want to win that way. But he also realizes that under a certain amount of control, he could save his friends. So that's all he wants to do, is when he gets to that point of being broken down, he gets so angry at himself because all he wants to do is save his friends and his family and everybody on there. And he feels like he let everybody down. That's why I love it, because I can relate to it. And I tell people that's why I'm so hardcore to it. I have multiple tattoos and everything on there. And the whole series is because it's more than just, I love the fact of, you know, their releases, how they have, you know, certain names and stuff like that. One Beastgate, the Penitent One, you know, all things in the universe turned to ashes, you know, stuff like that. And I've even come up with random ones in my mind. You know, sometimes, you know, you're now stuck with me, but anyways, it's just amazing how cool, you know, even through the stuff I've had to go through this year. To give you an example, like you said, it doesn't have to break you. Yeah. During the time period of about end of April till July, when I got back to work because of a medical mishap that was not handled like it should have been, I crashed out big time. And it sent this back into a very bad downward spiral. Prior to that, I felt like these guys I felt like this doctor stole things from me, you know, my happiness. My birthday is the same day as Karen Nicole's, who I absolutely love to death. And I don't celebrate much because of life stuff. And, you know, I was actually looking forward to it for once. And I just, dude, I ate shit, you know, because I just didn't have it in me in my body because of what they changed up. But I try to, now I'm, you know, reminding myself that back in the day, when I messed up or accidentally broke, that Witchblade up there of Alfred's that I absolutely love, as I've been playing around with. I mean, I've broken the front, moving it. It's cracked right now. I mean, I've had stuff where I've missed, and then I need to get more material. And you know what I've tried to tell people as well is that my sponsors are those that help me grow. They're not pumping money in or nothing. Sure. You know, we do like if anything, I work for trade because I love them to death. I love the fact that I love getting to see my display, like, you know, running in the background. So say, you know, like you and I were, right, and you were doing a stream and you had one of yours, you know, covers there, just, you know, going in the background during your stream to kind of show it off. Wendy Steenshiner does that a lot. There's this picture Alfred Trio took where he actually was just kind of sitting like this, right? And in the back he had that display that I made, and I was just Lord. And I could not believe, David, how many times when some of this stuff happened, I just went, okay, I can fix this.
Yeah. And
then I started looking back and I went, who the fuck is this guy? I kind of like him.
Yeah.
I want to keep him around. You know, like you said, it's very difficult to overcome, but when you do, it is astronomically mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And like you said as well, you're not the only one, because Luis Torres said on Kickstarter, back to that little bit, as you can tell, very OCD and ADHD. He wrote on his backing that he always made excuses for himself. Well, it's maybe not necessarily financially the right time, or maybe I'm a little more stable on this and that schedule wise. He just kept making excuses on why not to, do what he loved.
Yeah.
Sean Howe, who I had on the show a while back too, his wife didn't even know he could draw. Wow. And that ended ugly on this and that, but now he's growing up on this and that, and I'm doing what I can to help him on the business aspect of things, getting him in touch with people, all this other stuff. The guy is amazing.
Nice.
I love seeing amazing people grow, because I get random messages, DMs saying, hey, no, I've been watching you, and when I read that on Louise's on there, I was like, it's those things that stuck. And now, David, I got to be honest with you, bro. Everything you just listed off and you said is very. I love it when I meet people like yourself, because I've met others where they said, this is something that means something to me. There's obviously there's a market for everything, right?
Sure.
The adult stuff and everything like that. Sex sells. People want what they want. Hey, I've got plenty of different ones as well. I've got ones that are like my girl Krista Crawford with here in Villains at Wolf and Tides. She just got her PhD with doing pediatrics. She started by reading comics to kids, and then decided to make her own. And so Wolf and Tides. I think you combine all the words into one. Wolf and I. The third one, Tides of Truth, is on Kickstarter right now, and I just was working with her. I'm building a box. Oh my God, I'll send you pictures of it.
Yeah,
jeez. I went to town. But anyways,
I'm aware of her work. She does a great job. It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's how she grew from on there. And I love these stories where people, I've been blessed to have a lot of people on here right now that really have a story to it all. And the funny thing is I can actually say the same, if you go to I tell people, if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see just solo videos from 5 years ago. I did it for my mentor, JC, as well. I'm an open book. I share all my stories on there of life, because I've had people message saying, wow, what the hell? Why? And I'm like, because somebody has to. You got to know. And my buddy Doug, who helped me with this, my first design, look at it now, I look at the pictures still, it's just shit. But, it was a start. And, man, that was 10 years ago, easily. And then, I started looking. I've done so much more reflecting even this year. And like you said, when you started when you're 18, it's so fucking cool. So sorry to take over on that, but it was just everything you said on there, how it's tied into even my life.
Yeah.
Just since January, dude. I haven't even been doing this a year, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's the thing too. You hit on a great point there, is that a lot of people in those positions who are struggling or have things happen to them, or they have no control over certain aspects of their life, they feel that they're alone. They feel that they're the only person that's going through it, and while their experience is very personal to them, and it should be, they should know that they're not alone. There are people there that, even if, like you said, they don't know exactly, people around them might not know exactly what they're going through. I think that one of the things now, especially in the 21st century, that is unfortunately a little hard to come by is empathy. And if we as a human race had more empathy with each other, we would have a little bit more easygoing. We'd be a little bit closer to that utopia that everybody's hoping for. To be able to say, look at somebody and say, I might not agree with you 100%, but I understand where you're coming from. Let's find a common ground. Let's find a middle ground to where we can just move forward and everything will be okay. It might not always 100% every single time be okay, but at least there's talking instead of screaming. And I think that's one thing that in the Offspring, the three main characters that I start off with, they don't always get along. They don't see each other as family as first. They see each other as a nuisance. They see each other as
realistic.
That somebody that is connected to them, but they wish they weren't connected to them for whatever reason. Sarah and Vince, two of the main characters, do not get along at all in the beginning, and still annoy each other as they move forward, as we're getting into issue 17 now. So it's that constant progression of them starting to realize that they're not alone, but also having empathy for each other, which I think is in short supply, unfortunately, in the 21st century at this point.
Yeah, I've been writing on that too. And God, David, you hit on so many points on the fact that perception. I'm a big NF fan. His lyrics, I say I crush lyrics with everything that I can on there, and I've got lyric books all over the place.
Yeah,
I actually was on a cipher in South Dakota before I left, and I was encouraged to keep going on, which I couldn't believe. So, like with writing these here, but it is just like you said with the empathy. Kind of reminded me of a song that they did, NF and Futuristic did, called Epiphany. And NF writes about his pain from his head, his mind is a mansion. And I always like to say too, like you said, I always tell people, I like to live by the love is free. Love is free. When you speak the love, it always echoes back. That's from another one of my favorite rappers, Echo, but it's, when you speak the love, it always echoes back.
Yeah.
And it has. And I've had some people even ask me, they're like, why do you do this? Because I said, because I won't change for nobody. This is me. I was raised this way. I'm blessed to. This world sucks right now. And I'm not trying to make it like, where I was that guy years ago, throwing that stuff up on there, but it was honest to God, a cry for help. I just didn't know how to word it. So, you're throwing shit up on MySpace or whatever, initially on that. Yeah. Or I remember some of that. And, I love the fact, like I said, with the veterans, that Derek Waite, he told me after we were talking for a bit, man, we were both teared up, big old hug, because we were just talking. He goes, man, again, I feel I don't want to be egomaniacal, but I just like going up. I'm like, hey man, I just want to thank you for your service. And since I got down here, I've gotten so much more comfortable. I've got to be me and JC. Well, I feel like I'm making, when he told me he was proud of me, when he passed away, my book back up South Dakota, that was life changing as hell. Talking to all them and how much he talked about me and everything. Then, and I'm like, when somebody tells you that's not necessarily a family member, that they're proud of you, how much that rocks. Yeah. I mean, the friend of mine that was saying, listen, dude, that's I actually Try Love Under Arms is I've been involved with for 13 plus years. It's a mental health and suicide awareness and everything like that. And every year they come up with sayings like slogans that are for only you can play your part. Stay. Oh boy, all of them are running through my head right now. Because then I'd get the silicone bands and I'd send them up to Stronghold Counseling to give to people to just even if they hit on one. And you're right, because the other thing you hit on that I love so much is I think if people get kind of floored when I do come on strong, and I will if I need to, but I do my best to come correct. Yeah. Saying, let's be adults about this. Let's talk it out. But FYI, if said can't be resolved, then just know I'm not out to attack, and I'm not going to go purposely make it my vendetta to go throw shade unless you really go overboard. But but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Is I've had to do that. We're saying, listen, I believe in the second chances, all that other stuff, because nobody else is doing that for anybody. And you never know when you do that for somebody. All of a sudden, in that subconscious, it might pop back up and say, they don't even realize it, but they're doing it for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine, too, David, just like what you said, how even that little bit there, how much can change?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, dude. Everything on there, you just floored me in such a great way that I wish I. Yeah.
It's awesome. My wife is a guidance counselor. Counselor. The word guidance, she says, don't say that word. Just say counselor. And my wife is a counselor in elementary school, and she always says, kindness costs nothing. And it's from the second you're born to the second you die, kindness costs nothing. You might not agree with everything that everybody says, and if there's something that somebody's saying that just infuriates you to the fire in your belly just roars up, it's okay to take a deep breath and go, I disagree. Here's why. And if you have just a conversation instead of screaming at each other, it'll always go better. Just because you're louder doesn't mean you're right, or just because you can't acknowledge, like you said, can't acknowledge when facts are brought up, and those facts can be backed up by multiple sources. Then I think that's an issue where people are just completely ignoring true things. You know what I mean? People just ignoring complete facts that can be backed up by more than one source, and they just keep moving forward, believing in their untrue thing just because it makes them feel better, or they don't want to acknowledge that they were wrong. And that's one thing that I think character traits can happen, especially in the Offspring. They sometimes have trouble moving forward from their thing because it might be difficult. Because it might make it harder for them in the short term, but in the long term, it makes it better for everybody else.
See, me and JC talked about this too. Was with depression, there is a positive and a negative to it. The positive of it is when you wake up, you know what that day is going to be like, right? Because you're in that rut. But the that's the positive, or the positive of it. The negative is it scares you to push yourself out of it.
Yeah.
But there's a whole nother mind map, so to speak, on so many things, right? But to push yourself out, you don't know what you could be potentially missing, and like you said, it is so tough. My dad taught me that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle also said too that our initial reactions are not necessarily right. He goes, let me back up. He goes, they're more so incomplete. Because he goes off about a story of, back in the civil rights movement and how this woman reacted and wanted the world to see stuff like that. She didn't overreact, but this and that and what it brought about. Sure. And I love that because it's like you said, you and I jamming and I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. It's like, it happened to me last night, actually. I was helping somebody very much, trying to do everything I could. And then I got some snarky replies. I'm like, okay, hold up, Dust. Remember, everything right now is difficult because it's not a tone. It's not people don't also realize and that are older than us, how tone comes across when you're writing, because on technical writing and all that other stuff that I do as well, you've got to watch as it does come across. But I was like, I was just trying to help. I'm like, I was like, I'll write out my response to this even at work or anything like that, and then I'll just leave it, and I'll go do XYZ, right?
Yeah. And
by the time I come back, I realize this was the best coping mechanism, because I realized, you know what, it's not worth my time. This person obviously has something going on. I am not going to be the reason for the fuel for the fire. And so, yeah, go be angry over here or whatever. That's fine. But they don't need to know about it, kind of thing. And actually, when I came back, I actually got a response. I was just very nice. I just said, no, that's cool. I was trying to help. I get excited over things. And, I'm sorry if I, this and that. I came back an hour later, and all of a sudden I see this. I got a response saying, no, listen, I listened to it, Ray. Don't stop helping. I'm sorry that I came across that way. It was just from, stepping back. Like you said, it's such a simple complex it's a simple simple concept, but it is a difficult practice.
Yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough. People want to charge at their whatever they see as the problem or the well, I hesitate to use the word enemy, but whatever they think is the problem, they want to charge at it and try to prove their thing or get their thing up front or whatever it is. But everybody has a thing. Everybody has the thing, whatever it is, and it's better just to sit and listen, and see where your things mesh, because most things will mesh at one point. Most people have more in common than they do not in common, and that's a positive thing. That's one of the things I did for my first one shot, my first 24-page one shot. I try to put out like 4 one shots throughout the year, just to different genres and different things to be able to flex my writing muscles on some level. And the first one I put out was called Shady Lady.
Okay, and so actually, it's funny, David, that you said that, because I just went over to it and was looking. Now, one shots are, and just as you said, Shady Lady, one shots now are just a single. This is what I tell people. I'm like, it seems like I act like I know so much about all this. It's just because I love it so much that I get so into it that I've learned amazing things, which is so cool. Yeah. I love learning from people like yourself. So this is basically the way I would see it, is kind of you got this story that you'd love to do. Doesn't really mesh with what your main line, which by the way is already effing incredible, from what you've told me. But where it's just a simple book for. Well, I think I've seen even too, because I've been big into the Lady Death, Sworn, and all that other stuff where they have, these other issues, again, where I'm learning. But also, like you said, to flex your muscle. But if it was me, like where I'm struggling on this, like I'm struggling right now on metal displays, like what I have on here, they're kicking my ass with those lights. So I'm like, I had to switch up and do something different. And hence where I tried a different craft. One shots are basically that, correct?
Yeah. It's just a one and done story. I try to keep it between 24 and it's the Sock Hop Killer. There's 26 pages. I try to keep it in that under 30 pages, and it's a one and done story with characters that don't have anything to do with the Offspring. There are times where you could see how the universes are the same on some level, but it really you don't have to know anything about these characters or these stories before to be able to read it. And it's just, like I said, me trying different genres, trying different stories, trying different characters, and trying to show something in my writing that I've never seen before, to be able to hope that other people want to read it also. So a great example is Shady Lady, the first one I did there. It was right when it was actually right before all the issues started, but you were seeing a lot of social. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of social turmoil. I think if you go to the last page, I have it's probably Sock Hop Killer. The preview page probably has Sock Hop Killer stuff on there. But it was a lot of social turmoil, a lot of people yelling at each other, and I was seeing all these little incidences of people yelling at each other, when maybe just like we talked about, walking away probably would have been the better solution to the problem, because nobody was getting hurt, nobody was punching people in the face, nobody was shooting anybody. Just walking away would be the best thing to do, but some people can't or don't for whatever reason. Well, Shady Lady was my kind of response to that, to be able to show a female protagonist in New York City who has issues of her own, and was walking through her life, not being able to specifically fix her issues, but she saw places where she could help other people. So it really is a bunch of smaller like vignettes of stories with this character in the center of it, and then as the story ends, we start to see why she's doing what she's doing, the issue that she has, which I think is very contemporary issues that people see and unfortunately hear about and read in the news every single day. So that was one that's kind of like a noir thriller, because I'm a big fan of things like Alfred Hitchcock Presents, stuff like anything Alfred Hitchcock, The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, things like that. There's no superpowers, nothing like that. It's just the story of this woman who can't quite help herself, so it's trying to help other people. Kind of situation. And once I got the Shady Lady out, and it did well. It did well. Heard a lot of positive feedback about it. I said, well, now I've got to keep doing one shots, so which was amazing. So I won't stop right there. The second one, I told myself I wasn't going to do any superhero stuff because it's really done so much by other people. Yeah. But I came up with a story that I thought was powerful enough and different enough to be able to do a 24-page one shot with this character called Spiral. And he's a superhero archetype type character, and with his name Spiral, you can probably guess what happens to him throughout the 24 pages. He goes through a situation that is that he physically and mentally can't come back from, so he decides to forego any kind of real life on his own, and he's just Spiral, just that superhero, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, hence the I won't stop. Well, as the end of the story, we get to the climax of the story, there's a villain who is heavily inspired by a certain time travel 80s movie that I won't say out loud. If hopefully the readers get it and laugh at the connection between those. But the villain pushes him so far to the limits, and he's already pushed to the limits physically and mentally. He's exhausted. He hasn't slept. He hasn't eaten. He hasn't stopped to have a real conversation with anybody about anything except for how can I help. There's a little ticker of days, how many days he's doing it, and that's the whole 24 issues spans, I think it's 5 years of him just constantly on the move, constantly moving. So the last 3 pages are really the consequences of those actions, of him trying so much to help others, but not taking the time to make sure that he's okay, to be able to make those clear choices, to be able to make those, to be able to do those positive things for himself, to be able to be positive for everybody else. And I think it's a different kind of story, and it ends, I think, really surprisingly for anybody who reads it. And it's really one of those stories that I said, okay, on all my 24-page one-shots, I try to make sure there's more there, so that if it does hit and people like it and want to see more of that character, I've got stories to be able to tell. And with all of them, it's there. The third one there, Will Aliens Do My Homework? That was a really fun one. It's a little less deep than the first two. But as a teacher, I was walking around the classroom, and I had third graders with me, and we were drawing, talking, listening to music, having a good time. And the way my brain works, I thought, I was looking out the window, and I thought, what if aliens were to attack right now? How would I do? Where would I go? How would I get these 20 third graders out of this situation to safety? Within a few hours, I had thumbnailed out the entire 24 pages, and really, really the whole story really put together. And as a teacher, the protagonist is a female teacher, and she is an art teacher. So I'm an art teacher. So I really had those connections for me. But anybody who's ever been in a classroom, you don't have to be a teacher. You could be a student. You could be a parent. You could be whatever. It's the interaction. It's the aliens are cool, and the story of the aliens are cool, and it ends in, I think, a really cool way that will open it up to other things. But the story is really the communication and the relationship between the parent, the teacher, and the students, and how realistic the banter is, the communication, the talking between the parents and the students. And anybody who's ever been in a classroom will I think get a laugh at it and see how realistic those communications are between third graders and a teacher in the classroom, where the third graders aren't quite on board with what's happening. they're a little more worried about what their thing is, rather than what's actually happening in the real world. And that's kids. That's every kid that's ever existed. So it's that interaction, and then once the aliens boom land on top of them, they start to realize, oh, maybe my juice box isn't the most important thing right now. Maybe I should listen to what the adult is saying, and maybe we can move forward from there. But I think that one ends in a really fun way.
Awesome. I love that. And like you said too, David, just hearing you. Okay, I'm one of those. Again, I God, and if lyrics just roll to my head as I'm listening to you on so much of this here, because like I said with that there, and how you know, left them open just in case, which is awesome, which is, you know, that's business savvy for one. But two, you know, I can hear it in you, the passion, how much, you know, you really just, man, you got your outlet. I love hearing all these, not that we're stopping or anything by any means. I'm not saying that, but I just had to throw this in, that the passion, David, that you have, and how, you know, you've gone through these different ones, just these three, and talking about the Offspring and all this here, that you could even have a little, you know, maybe one of your one shots you come in that come to mind, and all of a sudden they make a little guest appearance or something, or, you know, keeping it an open world, because we live in an open world, and, you know, and how, you know, we're, you know, just so much of the different aspects, you know, like you said. And on top of that, it's like you said, I can tell how, you know, we all need a break, so to speak, from certain things that we're doing. Sure. And it's also why I did these, is one of these, because I love connecting with people. And it's a great outlet for me. It's a great thing for me too, for when I'm doing things with work that obviously I'm not at liberty to say so much, besides the fact of, you know, if I'm training or helping, or, you know, because I've been an electronic tech myself. I've been an electronic tech for 25 years. I fix stuff at home. Repaired. I can go all the way down and troubleshoot all the way down to a ballpoint pen, you know, size electronics. And my friend Kara, I was out. She is another one that you kind of remind me of with her, just in the fact of, she does cosplay, modeling. Now they're doing comics, they're doing art. She learned coloring from, you know, her husband on there, but she also has run for legislation here, and she's also doing comedy, and she's inspired me to do that as well, because of different gigs in my head of all this other stuff. You see the freaking notebooks I have everywhere. It's ridiculous. But, you know, I was at one of the shows, and all of a sudden the wind just picked up, knocked over this PA system, and I just shot over there, and talk about, like we were talking about before, with people, right? Showing you care, and just, it wasn't even, I didn't even hesitate. Shot over, went to really try to get this and that, and we were able to get another speaker rolling, you know, for this show. And this guy who he's been through so much, just was like, what am I going to do now? You know, this is kind of like his funding sources. And I said, give it to me, this PA. I said, Kara, I said, talk to her. I said, she knows me. She knows where to find me, all this other stuff. I said, I'll fix it. And he looked at me like, you can? He goes, you can? I'm like, just have a little faith, have some trust, you know? And I go, it's tough, because I know we just met, and I don't want to put it on, you know, that, well, why don't you? Nothing like that. But I said, let me look at it. Let me at least, I go, what's it hurt? Let me look at it and see what I can do. Instead of, you know, having to look at buying a brand new, you know, speaker to try and add in all this and that. Yeah. I repaired the whole thing for him for free.
Nice.
I asked him how it was going a week later, and he goes, dude, I think it actually sounds better than the other one. I'm like, well, in my head, I'm running through. I'm going, well, electronics after a while, you know, and outside and heat's the remote killer. I'm running through that in my head, but I'm also very happy to hear that. I said, he goes, what? You go. I go, all I care about is you just keep taking care of my girl, Kara. Yeah. I said, that's it. I said, just keep doing your thing, bro. and you keep working with her, take care of her like we're doing these shows, because I know she loves to just do all this different stuff. She doesn't, it's like movie act, certain actors that don't want to be known for a certain role, but it's kind of like, it's still your flagship. It's what made you Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, as a big example there, for instance, and I get want to do, want to be able to do XYZ, but you got also, your fans love you for this and that, and Kara knows that. I have never seen somebody grind so hard like she does, and for the amount of fucking followers and fans she has, and how she takes care of in response. I've known her for years, David. I've known her for years before I even moved down here. And it wasn't like we're sitting there, having a deep conversation or talking back and forth, but even contact. I'm like, woman, people could say to me, they're like, well, you're always so busy. I'm like, it's because I have to keep myself busy, for one.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not something I can't stop to go and help. But two, I'm like, they're like, I wish you could bottle your energy up in there. I'm like, well, I'm regaining that right now, and I'll be back, I'm sure, to doing that. But I'm like, it's inspiration when you have people tell you too, like, oh, we're being wanted. No, you can't. We're not allowing you to give up or fail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like you said, with so much on here, I'm sorry. The reason this is also a reason I'm there. It just helps on that, but it's just it's so cool how intertwined our lives can be. With everybody else, and how I hear all that there. And when Kara does her stuff, I mean, she's so passionate, and she is so damn certain and wants to make sure on top of, she don't give a shit if you backed a $16 book or you did 1,600, right? You get treated the same.
Yeah.
And if something comes damaged, you damn right it's going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
And I've met other people like that as well. And I tell people this, and I have a feeling this is where our relationship could be going. I said, when I build a relationship with somebody, I'm like a pit bull. I'm loyal as hell. I said, I will defend my family. And I said, if you need to, I said, let me handle XYZ. Let me take it off here on there, your chest on there, just any way I can help you, let me deal with help. Let me help out on there. I said, but I'm a human. I remember like NF who goes, oh, I love his song Why. He doesn't understand why, he doesn't want people to know how he can be hurt, but why can't he enjoy what he's doing? Why won't his head let him? But I tell everybody in there, but I'm like, I'm a human. He goes, but I'm only a man. I'm a human being.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm always about, like we talked about, talking, being adults about it on there, but you cross me too many times, I turn into a viper. And I'm like, some people are like, man, you come off kind of strong. I'm like, well, it's a defense mechanism. I will admit I'm working through, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like I owe you, because who likes being blindsided?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I want to earn my place in doing this stuff. I'm not in any way trying to slither into something going, well, anyway, David, since we did this, right? Because I love hearing on some of them. I'm like, God, why couldn't I be that one? Just to put that stamp on there. Where people send some of these people that I know, and I feel like I call it Facebook stock. When certain people, right, and you're actually friends with them and stuff like that, and all of a sudden, and I've been so blessed, hella blessed. I'm not denying any of this on here. It is because of who I have known, that I've, like Goodell did, and these others I'm eternally grateful for. I was just floored when I heard about that Comic Slam, but like, oh my God. Well, I do need to get my ass in gear more, because I need to get back to me, who I feel, but I was like, this is incredible, but oh my God, it's overwhelming. But you know what? My God, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, but it's like where I did with hers with that box build. I did it because I wanted to, though. I did not expect a damn thing. And sometimes I don't like that when people, they do that, where they'll send in to certain ones like that there, and all of a sudden, I have when this started off, I had people saying that they were going to promote me and they were going to do this and that, and I knew right where it was leading to.
Mm.
You know, hey, yeah, I got this there. If you build a display for it, I'll have it running on this and that. And I'm like, you do realize I've been screwed over enough in my life, and two, I do get excited about it, yes, and I'm feeling, yeah, I'll hear you out, but at the same time, I also check up, I follow up, and I will ask people that I trust, and not to be a dick, but I will maybe say, well, yeah, we can work out, we'll talk about this and that there, and then I like to see where it leads to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you send something to somebody as a gift, it's a gift. A gift is, again, like we talked about with love and everything like that. But to ask for something in return, I'm like, oh my God. I'm always about that there, but I'm like, I'm a human being. I know that too. I want to say something, let alone just get right in there when you're 6'7", covered in tattoos and gauge years and all this other shit. People, I like it because it is a deterrent on a lot of things. I'm not trying to get into shit, but you get what I'm saying. But it's just, again, amazing stuff, and I know I sidetrack and it's stuff I got to work on, but I get the passion, and it's just so cool hearing on all this too about when you were talking about your one shots, and I was trying to look through it. I'm like, I'm gonna sound like an idiot when I talk to them. I feel like I'm like because I like to look into it's totally unscripted, but I do like to have set up and ask, because when you told me your background, it's amazing. Where like Alan Simpson has a PhD too as well. I'm like, okay, you got to tell me about this. And all of a sudden I'm hearing these other stories about Jay and Silent Bob, Kevin Smith's, comic book shop up on there. I grew up on there. I did drinking games to some of that, but what you find out from people, and these are so cool. So sorry to sidetrack again on there, but it was just so cool because I'm thinking to myself how you were explaining, like, here, what William is doing my homework. I'm like, I could so totally see, and this is so cool how it's out there. You can gauge the reaction. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But if people enjoy it, sweet. And if you're a guy like me, like, right, where I see so much epic shit, and I'm like, ugh. So I get to XYZ, I'm on set budget, but I'm like, oh, they're showing, like, okay, you got 17 out, right? And I want to know the story, but I am, because I used to dive right in. I still do, if you can't tell. But I'm like, the origin of it and all that there is the foundation of everything. It's just like, hopping into a mad TV show that's taken off, and you're starting at season 3, episode 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, but.
And that's one of the reasons why I love doing the one shots, because it give people, I understand that as an indie creator, it can be hard to jump into something that's 17 issues into it. I completely understand that. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do the one shots is because I had the stories. I want to tell these stories, but it was also kind of a bridge to be able to give people an idea about my style, about the way I draw, about the way I communicate visually, about the stories that I want to tell, where there's always going to be a little bit of humor, there's always going to be lots of action, there's always going to be some deeper stuff in there also. But to give people kind of like a bridge from my one-shots to maybe my 4-issue miniseries, to maybe my 100-plus page graphic novel, to maybe The Offspring, to be able to say, I've liked what he is, I've more liked than not liked what he's doing. Let me give The Offspring a shot and get Volume 1 and see if they want to continue moving forward from there. And that's really one of the small reasons why I did the one-shots. The biggest reasons, because I love telling different kinds of stories with different kind of characters, and I think they're fun to do, and I think that people will enjoy them if they give them a shot.
So the sock cop killer, I'm just looking at all this here. I'm thinking to myself, Carrie, or, some of that stuff there.
Yeah, it's very much designed off of the 80s slasher movies. Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I always loved those things growing up. My parents did not know I watched them, but I would watch them and not sleep well the night after. But I was always knew that I wanted to
Shit
do some
happens.
kind of story when I started the one shots, and I had some ideas, but they weren't really clicking with me. One day I was running through the woods by my house here, and you stop in the woods and you get that feeling that you're not quite alone. And I was kind of looking around, and there was nobody there. And I happened to have in my earbuds um, Bill Haley and the Comets, Rock Around the Clock. So I started thinking, was thinking had the 80s slasher people with machetes or whatever, and chainsaws or whatever in my head. And I said, the 1950s, that's cool. And I started thinking of the visuals and like poodle skirts, the little handkerchiefs on their thing, the big curly ponytails. I'm like, that's something I've never seen a killer like that before. And I said, she's got to have a cool mask. So I, kind of started coming up with different ideas. I called a buddy of mine who does a podcast also, Paul Dulski, who does the Everything Horror podcast. And he has done movies and written some stuff, but he'd never done any comic books before. I talked to him for about a half an hour. And within a half an hour, we had enough for three issues. We had so much backstory and so much content, and he wrote it up and he sent it to me the next day. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but we got to whittle this down into 24 pages, and let's make sure people know, like we said, there's more there. But let's see if people like this initial story, and then we'll use all this other stuff for other stories if we get a chance to. Well, we started whittling out certain things, and by the time we were done, we had 24 pages that I thought were so tight with the not giving away everything, but enough about this character to be able to know how it jumps from one part to the next, and enough like slasher stuff to appease those fans, enough family drama to appease those kind of people, and enough really character moments to be able to not just say, okay, when's the next person going to get bloodied up, but why, to really want to understand the motivations of the characters that this is going through. And I think, again, the ending ended in such a way where there's so much more there that I think Paul has actually gotten we've both gotten multiple questions about when the second one's coming out, where he's already up and running with the second issue, and I haven't seen it yet, but he's like, oh, by February of next year you're gonna have it and we're gonna get it out, it's gonna be awesome. And I said, great, let's do this, because I love the character and I think there's so much there to be able to keep grabbing from, to be able to make fun stories with a familiar yet completely different type of slasher character.
For some reason, my mind went to Back to the Future meets horror. Back to, when is the Wham and Iron Maiden reunion tour going to happen? To, when you were talking about all that there, I'm like, that's where it's nice being, the age I am at, where I'm not completely oblivious, to stuff like that there. But like you said, nothing's more frustrating to a degree for a guy like myself as a reader, to get something like this here that's a one shot, right? That until I talk or know, like we just did, that there's a potential second one, I'm not going to say for sure or when, because that's the other one thing that absolutely blows right now about some of these with the Kickstarters, but I understand because of my friends that do run the comic print shop, how difficult. I try to also tell people, again, it's a little off there, but I tell people, like, okay, you got to understand, when you're waiting and you get that package and it's damaged, or, this isn't necessarily because of the indie scene and stuff like that with what they're working with. At least the smart ones are, especially with stretch goals, all the other stuff. Well, like my friends there, that they got to slam out these orders as soon as they get the paper in, because they're waiting for that to come in, and how shipping it is, all that. And so when you're sitting there like myself, it's such a risky deal, and that's what I've learned as well. It gets risky for me feeling, because I'm like, well, and I do work to do my research, and then there's some of them I just go off my gut, and some of them, like, I'll just give it a shot. Like I looked at one the other, a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I just don't see myself getting into this.
Sure.
And like you said, you gotta be able to, I want to, enjoy a good read.
Mm-hmm.
Where even though I can still be like, what's more frustrating than one of your favorite TV shows are, I'm gonna throw this one out there just for shits and kicks is, the Game of Thrones ending. How where certain people feel like certain aspects were rushed.
Yeah.
And I hate that because you can tell there are some that just want to rush it out. I
Mhm.
understand it's how you live, this and that there.
Yeah.
But I try to also, another part what I do with this David too is I try to inform, and I post a lot on people going, listen, it is on both ends.
Mhm.
Yes, they need to deliver. It is how they, if I don't deliver at my job, I'm
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
That's it. And game over. So it's a two-way street, because I so appreciate when artists also talk about when they realize, say that $6 or $10 that a person spends was their entertainment budget
Mhm.
for that time, and they're investing it in me, kind of thing, right?
Sure.
And they recognize that, and they know that they want to know that what that person has, because that may be all they can for the month or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're taking that time to do that for them. That's the other aspect I try to go, listen, you guys got to remember that they're in a crunch because there's been so many print shops that have had to be closed due to COVID during certain times,
Yeah.
and has delayed aspects. But as I say, I try to help other artists go, and listen, you got to communicate at least. And I've read all these terms and break down the business aspect of all this shit. But anyways, back kind of to that read there, it's like, I'm waiting. I mean, I could have one hell of a Merry Christmas, let's put it that way, for stuff being delivered.
Sure.
But, because I really needed to pump the brakes, but now, son of a bitch, David, I love you. But anyways, I'm like motherfucker. But anyways, on there, it's like, I'm hoping, but, there's others that are like, and I go and I look, I'm like, oh, man, I start to feel a little bit bad because, you can't just rush and throw something out there, because I hope you enjoyed the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, where, you have the opportunity where it's amazing with a little patience, like we were just saying, with taking a step back. If you take just a little patience, give it another week or so, reaching out, researching. That's what I do. Like you said, when you jam Paul in there going, bam. Now, say it doesn't, but you got one hell of a good story.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things, especially with a 24. I could do a 24 page issue, probably one every 2 months for the next 10 years with all the ideas that I have. But I also want to make sure that this story isn't just ink on a page, that there's that it one makes sense. I've read too many comics in my day where I'm like, why are they doing that? Like, why is this person not acting like a person? Why is this person doing something that is clearly a bad decision? Like, I always want to make sure when my characters make decisions, when the plot moves in a certain direction, that it makes sense. And it's not just to move the plot forward. And that's something that I really try to say.
I don't want to flip back trying to see what the hell I missed.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit the rewind going.
Yeah.
Where'd this jump to? Just like you said, to interrupt, but I'm like, I've had to do that on certain ones going, what the hell?
Yeah, and something especially like the Offspring, I try to make sure that, because I know what the next, I'm on 18, so I know what the next, till the end. I know what all 50 books are going to have in them. I know the plot twists that are going to happen. I know everything that's going to happen with these characters and to these characters, and how it's eventually going to end. I know all that already. So the fun part for me is to put little Easter eggs, little things in 10 issues ahead, or 10 issues before the thing actually happens. So where if a reader does go back and say, oh, that he said that in issue 5, and then it happened. Then it happened in issue 15. Like he put this little scene in there, and at first you're like, what? How did that have to do with this story? And then you start to realize, oh, he was projecting for the next thing that was going to happen in this issue, and 3 issues, 4 issues ahead. Some of it is 10 or 15 issues ahead, but I try to make it all in a way that it still just flows naturally with whatever these characters are going through. So that while somebody might see something and go, what just happened there? What was that little thing right there? And they go, oh, I wonder what's going to happen there. And then they might forget about it. And then 10 issues later, oh, there it is. There's that thing. And that's one of the fun parts for me, to be able to make sure that people know, because like I said, from issue 1 to issue 50, I know what's going to happen. Some things might adjust a little bit if I think of something really cool to be able to do with them, but the overall story is not going to change. And that's one of the fun things for me about it, is to be able to know what's going to happen, and to be able to really dig deep on these characters and be able to show little things, issues in advance, for people to be able to go back and find little Easter eggs, hopefully, if they're interested in doing that.
That's why I was laughing a little bit. I just haven't heard that term in so long. The Easter eggs, where, people remember how that was such a big thing. And I'm like, why can't a little bit of that come back? It brings that excitement to, something you look forward to in a roundabout way. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, all this here. And I mean, now that I've been perusing and bouncing back and forth and all this. And this is where, this is just me though. I mean, this is also, this obviously is huge with the volumes and it's great, but I'm also such a freaking one, because I love like this. Your cover for issue 2 right here is epic. I love the issue 11 here with the hands, because I've done some tattoo modeling. One of them is that I turned around, I was just holding my hand out, because that was a very special one to me. And it was kind of like, with the vignette, or the distortion blur, where the focus was my hand. It was like, there's just a classic, offer someone your hand, take your hand, and where you have somebody reaching out and kind of tying into, like what you said with the story on how these kids intertwine, and how when they're growing up and they evolve, and all of a sudden, who can do what, who's going to stand by who, what side you're going to decide on, what, choices are you going to make, and everything like that. And looking at these covers too, that's why I was saying, I'm like, I'm such one of those weirdos too, in a way. I just love people are like, why do you say this shit about yourself? I'm like, I just do. I mean, I'm like, I don't sit here and go to myself and beat myself up over it. I just, if I get a laugh out of somebody, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about the chuckles.
It's okay being a weirdo. We're all weirdos in some way.
Hell yeah.
It's fun being weird.
Individual.
It's okay.
Yeah, as long as you got it in perspective.
Yeah. We have too many people trying to worry about being normal. What's fun in that? There's no fun in that. And why would we worry about what anybody else thinks either? Just do your thing. If you like it, do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, who cares?
I had a wiener dog, Dotson, that I missed dearly too, and being 6'7", covered in ink, stuff like that, up in South Dakota. My dad sees him with a spike collar on. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, listen,
it's awesome.
Up here, I don't have to try and stand out. I said, in Phoenix, I got to try to stand out, at least to a degree. And, I do love the fact of all the different, how it is very accepting, especially in the medical field, too, because, and the police, all that stuff, where this was all, nix. But, as long as I always tell people, because I get so many people asking, and they think I could draw for some odd reason. I mean, I sketch for fun, just to try and teach myself, or, take tips from like my friend Alfred, or, I say, if you threw me on there, I have a light board on there that I made, this 3 skull design, just messing around with for a Alliance deal. I was running a logo, but it's, doing all these different things. I get hit up all the time about ink tattoos, and then people think I do them, and I'm like, because that's still Now that's kind of almost a little bit of the norm when they see a lot of it. If they see also really good work, I'm like, well, no. However, I mean, I did work with a guy for about 10 years in his shop, and I learned a lot about it. I learned, the safety about it, the sterilizing that we did. And, I loved how he said, I don't do this for your protection. I do it also for mine. And then, I learned about, the different contrasts and stuff like that. And it kind of escaped until it kind of came back to it. And I'm like, well, no, I can this, but I can tell you this. This is also funny because I have so many one-liners, David, it's not even funny. But one of them I always say to people too is look at the common denominator. If you're having an issue with something, look at the common denominator. Mine, when I was being an ass because uncertain female friends are saying, I can identify the right guy, you're all such assholes. And this, I'm like, yeah, okay, take a step back, breathe. Look at the common denominator. Maybe try and switch it up. Because I always got put the friends on all that shit. But anyways, that's a cry story for another time. But anyways, the common denominator being, I was like, well, just like we were talking about, that step back, that that taking an extra moment, taking a breath. I'm like, listen, decide on what you want. I said the best thing I ever did was I found a whole bunch of references, and every piece on me can tell a story. I made sure that I made a bunch of references, but I said I found a reputable artist. So say I had a comic idea, which I kind of do, and I say, hey David, what do you think? Right? And because I know of the work you do, I know of what you do. I do my research. I said, do your research. I said, if you want suggestions, I tell you who I trust, all that stuff. And I said, I love being able to say, these are my ideas. You do you. Because I want it unique and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's great about a lot of this. When you said that since 18, I have maybe one cover up. It's just because it's older, and I'm like, it's by all means, I'm not like going, that was such a stupid idea. I don't have any of that, But it's also because I just miss being inked. It's therapy for me, and I always see new shit and think of new stuff because life is a journey.
Sure.
And I also do this. NF again, I'll accept advice as long as it's not presented ignorantly. Or another one that I kind of came up with is I won't take advice from people that won't take their own. But
that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I got them for days. Believe me. If you want me to write them out, I will.
Nice.
One of my friends was telling me, she goes, just take some of your shots from my photo shoots before with some of these, put them on shirts. I'm like, we'll see what happens. But anyways, just epic here. So we got on the Offspring, which Cyclomax. So right now, okay, so at the moment, because you were showing us there right here, volume 3 you have out, right? So this is up to, if a guy were to grab here, you get up to the 13th here.
Yep.
Now you have 16 listed, 17 is out, 18 is being worked on.
Yep.
Correct? What's your estimated by that, if you don't mind me asking, just out of curiosity?
When 18 is going to be done? So I'm going pretty good on it. I'm at a pretty good steady pace. I'm actually working on another one shot also at the same time. So I think I'm gonna do the one shot. Yeah, I'm gonna do the one shot before the new year. Have it out before the new year, and then have Offspring 18 out in probably the second week in January. Still pretty early in next year, so I can keep moving forward. My plan is always between 5 and 6 issues of the Offspring every year. I think that's a pretty good number for an independent creator who also has a day job and a wife and 2 kids and lots of other responsibilities to do. But sometimes I hit 5.
Not me.
Yeah. Sometimes I hit 5 issues in a year, and that's okay. I'm okay with 5 because I'm still putting out one shots also throughout the year. So I'm just trying to get them out as best I can for people to see them and read them and hopefully enjoy them.
Yeah. So not because I wanted to ask on that, but I ain't done yet.
Nope.
These are also now. My buddy Russell Allen, that I was mentioning as one of my sponsors, who's my inspiration for doing this. He does Books with Heart. Fantastic guy.
Nice.
Going through a lot of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he is one of the biggest pushers. And he was another one that just had a story. I had, I've got one of those heavy duty plastic comic book bins because I'm very OCD on my stuff, especially my special stuff. Like say, when I build this collection, it'll be in its own in one of those.
Sure.
Those things are freaking like $40. But let me see. I spend the money on this, or I go get the cardboard one that I know I'll move around so damn much because I'm always doing that in my house. I'm always redecorating, doing all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's what I want is my stuff damaged because I'm also OCD. I love having them when they're signed and stuff like that there. But anyways, he kind of did the same. If he listens to this, he'll always throw me shit. Him and I go off. You want to talk about shiny squirrel ADHD shit all the time. We're always quoting stepbrothers and everything like that. We just come best friends. Yeah.
Nice.
Who's driving the boat? We're always doing stuff like that because I could quote that comedy stuff like that like no other. But he just did as well. More of a novel, Xena Knight Titan. I always do this wrong. We always give him shit for it too, but I love the fact that he just stays true to himself.
Okay.
And he's on to writing the other one, and a lot of it is based on, again, it's got heart. His little boy is still had to have heart surgery right off the bat.
Oh my gosh.
That's why that comic book for kids is such a huge thing for me. I'm actually trying to work with. I have some, but I need to find more in the comic book design because obviously I'm a print nut. I have, it just in frames. These, if I were to show, I'd get in trouble though. They're just saucy. They're racy, obviously.
No.
Not safe for work. They're not like graphic stuff, but you get what I'm saying. If you do it, you show it on there. But like, I'm working on is one that I won't. This is actually, by the way, David, this is a brand new one for me because I actually, with the amount of things I have running, but working on, I gotta find a print that'll go because then we're gonna try auctions off because then the nonprofits go to getting kids comic books and stuff like that there that are in the hospital. But like these comic book size ones, the smaller ones, these are the ones I'm working on building the equity that I can ship.
That's awesome.
As you can see, they're the comic size, and then they're essentially about 11 by 14 roughly, kind of like what you would buy at Michael's or something like that, right? To put your comic book in, but only the difference is these are all custom framed. Everything's custom painted, built, frame job, all that stuff. 1, 2 sets of lights, whatever that can run off of multiple power systems. But shipping and all that other stuff is a treat and a half. Yeah. Well, we could donate on there and everything. And so he doing the same though with his kid and his graphic novel that he's just plugging through to get to 2. And it's just like you said with your family lives. I gained so much more respect as well. I'm not trying to throw shade at people that don't because I don't, that's why I tell people I bought my first house when I was 25 and I, can do a lot of this years because I don't have those extra responsibilities. Yes, I work. It can be a very stressful job very early in the morning to a degree, but I'm blessed to have it. And it could be a hell of a lot worse. And I'm now 38, pushing the better part of that 9. And I look at it, this is where I like to play the long numbers game. I'm like almost 14 years now, and I've owned my own house by myself. And I'm looking to still, any ladies watch this? Available. But anyways, like you said, take care of said responsibilities. But my God, dude, people say I don't sleep and they want to bottle that up and put it to sell it. I mean, the loved ones here, 100+ page graphic novel.
Yeah, that was a real fun one to do. I'm actually working right now on my second 100 plus page graphic novel. This one was written by a friend of mine who is the creator of Dojo Kun Comics, Brian Menard, and he wrote it and he came up with a great. It was my concept, my idea, and I said, hey, I want to collaborate with somebody that I know. Will be able to understand, the theming that I want to get through with this. And I talked to him about it. He said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And he sent me a script about a week and a half later. And it was almost dead on. We made a couple changes here and there, but it was the whole concept is children of classic movie monsters. So Dracula, witch, Frankenstein's monster, and werewolf. Their children are taken by a Van Helsing type character, so a monster hunter, and it is the monster hunter raises these children, so they're kind of raised in an environment to where they're being told they're evil, they're the bad guys. So Van Helsing is trying to get them to be a part of his monster hunting squad. Well, things happen, and the kids decide to go searching for, hunting for, looking for their biological parents. And for some of them it goes well, for some of them it does not go well. But the way that it shows that nurture versus nature idea of they can't fight who they are, but that struggle with, am I the bad guy? Are they the bad guys because of who they were, the kind of person that they were born into? And it really is that struggle between all four of them. And like I said, some of them it goes well, some does not go well. And I think that it ended in such a way to be able to where people will really, throughout the story, people will really start to care for these four kids. Not because they're recognizable as the monsters that we grew up with in the black and white, like Bela Lugosi type characters, but because they each have distinct personalities, and they each have their distinct struggle, and they each have their distinct way to be able to approach different problems. And by the end of the story, I think they completely 100% feel genuine. And feel like, okay, now this is the situation. Now at the end of the story, how do we move forward? And it was really fun to be able to create with Brian. My next 100 plus page graphic novel is going to be a little bit more sci-fi, a little bit more sci-fi action adventure thing, and it's going to be called Latent Lightspeed. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to have some pretty underlining deep concepts on the underlining, but really what I want to do is a fun action adventure sci-fi thing that's going to have a lot of cool different kind of aliens and a lot of cool different kind of sci-fi things going on, and I can't really wait to start on. My hope is to get that out by 2023. In the process of getting issues of The Offspring and a couple more one-shots there also. So it's going to be a fun but busy couple of years. It's going to be awesome.
Well, yeah. Why are you making us wait? It's not like you're doing anything else. I mean, Jesus. Yeah. I mean, come on, David. You're killing me, Smalls.
I better just get to it.
Yeah,
the Colossus of Clout.
Yeah, rise and grind, man. That's what I learned from my tattoo people and all that on there. But I mean, Jesus, dude. Okay, by the way, real quick, when you were saying on the release, I would love nothing more if you did on there. You got to hit me up, and we can. I'm gonna put it on blast on a release. I love doing that, and some of these when I've done Kickstarter closers that have been just amazing too. Awesome. Put on there, but just to throw that out there with all of you guys going on. But
great.
All right, so now we're into Evolution. Please hit me with that there because I will murder it.
Yeah, Evolution Utero is my first 4-issue miniseries, and I guess it was before I did I Won't Stop. But I was, I guess, itching to do some kind of superhero thing, but I didn't want to do superheroes. So I was thinking about the idea that, people say, they were born to be a hero. They were born to save the world. They were born, this character was born to blah, 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 whatever it was. So I started thinking, I'm like, well, what happens before they're born? Like, what what is something I can do before the character is born? And the first thing I thought was having having the mom be pregnant with a superhero fetus. And I said, well, what's the story there, except for just kind of maybe some cool visuals? So I thought my next thought was, what if the mom is the worst person you've ever met? Picture the worst person you've ever met. And that's the mom. She's selfish. She doesn't care about anybody or anything but herself. She's just roaming through life, just wasting her and everybody else's time around her, and doing it in a way that is bringing everybody else around her down. So with that basic idea, with that basic idea, it's really started becoming a story about how parenthood changes you. For most people,
nature and nurture.
yeah. So how parenthood changes you as you move forward. So this character, this mom, has to deal with, and now she's starting to realize, and I love how, I really, not to toot my own horn, but I love how I rolled it out, because I rolled it out fairly slowly in the 4 issues. It was really her struggle at the beginning about, do I keep this baby? Is this something that she is willing to do? And it's a struggle that millions of women go through every single day. Can I do this? And she's doing it alone. So it really is that struggle for the first part of the story. And then once she realizes that something else is going on, it's no longer, can I keep this baby? It's, how can I survive with this baby inside of me? Mm-hmm. So now she's started to think more about herself. And it's that struggle of choices, whether they're good choices for her, bad choices for everybody else around her, and how those choices affect her. And in the end, she has a big choice to make. At the end of the story, she has a big choice to make that will either save everybody, but maybe not herself. So she has to decide, am I going to save myself and let all these other people die? Or am I going to save all these other people and let me and possibly my baby also die? So it really is the culmination. The 4 issues culminates in this huge decision that she has to make, and the ending for me was kind of like my Back to the Future ending, a little like something's got to be done about your kids, Marty, and then the thing flies off into it. It's to be continued. So
sorry, it's just one of my all-time tops. That one and like Die Hard. I'm such a fan, but I've watched it over and over. And when you said it.
So the ending to Evolution U is very much my homage to the ending to Back to the Future, to where they're like, to be continued, big question mark kind of thing. Yeah. And it was really fun to create, and I love the way it came out. I just love the way the story kind of unfolds, and issue 4 kind of starts from a different perspective. Than the mother. The whole issue 1 through 3 are through the eyes of the mother, and then issue 4 kind of adjusts your perspective on where you're looking. I don't want to give anything away, but I think it's a really fun way to be able to adjust the perspective of that story. So while at the first 3 issues we're the mom and we're seeing everything through her eyes and maybe thinking about the selfish things that we've done in our life, because everybody has, then the issue 4 kind of switches. So now we're starting to see her through others' eyes also, to be able to kind of start to understand the consequences of her actions with this huge decision that she has to make.
Damn, dude. That's all I say, and I mean that in the most respectful, positive, like impressive. I just in the more real world, because again, it's so insane. I love the fact my buddy again, Carl Dutch, who I just have Dutch, who I have mad respect for. He, the Wayfarer, is his Kickstarter that's out now. It's issue 1, and with his daughters and everything, right? He wanted to. It's like a kind of like the Bleach and Dragon Ball Z, but it's a preteen skater chick, and he's trying to bring a positive female role model as well to these, and I just got so much. That's where also David Green, who just finished out Conquered Crowns Amazons, I was so happy that how well that went for him, because he's got such a story, just like you said, with all those there, he's got on there, and he went back and he did with the African history
Mhm.
and with the mythology, but he did it with Black Panther meets Game of Thrones kind of deal.
Nice.
And he's really just trying to also bring that culture to it. And I love the fact where, like you said, you're not trying to slam your opinion or your thoughts or anything like that, because I also try to tell people, remember back to the late great George Carlin, who I did get to see right before he passed. I love that guy so much. When he went off on a reverend going off about what was on TV, he's like, "Hey, Reverend, turn the knob," kind of thing. Where we do. I don't like. Don't get me wrong. I don't like. I do not, unless I absolutely have to, watch the news in the sense, because I always tell people this too, is like, where politics is an absolute, I do not allow it on here. I don't do any of that on there. And because I don't treat this so much separately from my real life.
Mm-hmm.
I love having fun. This is a special thing for me. It's to kick out the jams, but I love this stuff on here, because what people don't realize is, like you said, with the research and doing the research, be your own thinker, be yourself, but ask, because if you don't ask for help, that's when you fail.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But like in here, where you're not trying to shove an opinion down somebody's throat, it's here's an aspect of a mother that is struggling, because how many movies, super many movies that have that on there too, and or you hear about this where they got to make that decision, or then you get people love to take stuff like that and they'll twist it into their own agenda, like we talked about before. But not to shit on, I'm trying to bring the positive of the gun here, but I love how you've all your stories, the stuff that you've talked about, how you've the world itself, how try to bring the fact that there is, to address that, but there is still a wonderful world that can be had.
Oh yeah.
Right. And like you said, where she's evolved, and that's where I try to tell myself too, because in order to stay relevant, just like yourself, right, with all this, if you want to stay relevant in what you're positive and love doing, you need to be on top of what's going on day to day, because we don't know what my dad taught me too. You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans for tomorrow. And I love that, because when you think about it, if I don't care what what your beliefs are or anything like that, it truly is, if you really think you have XYZ on lockdown, you don't know. Definitely have goals, definitely strive. I'm not doing on any of that. I want everybody to strive. I mean, I do too. You gotta set this stuff, but you got to be prepared for whatever life may throw you.
You gotta be able to adjust when it goes south.
Exactly.
Yep.
Back to that 90-10 on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so, man, dude, Jesus, I was going through, and I was kind of like, now I'm in that holy shit mode where I'm soaking everything in still, but I'm everything on here, but the Offspring, I gotta tell you right now, I'm just utterly floored on.
Oh, thanks, man.
For real, unbelievably here. But so, just again, not to time everybody in the life here, but I still kind of wanted to touch a little bit on that end there. But okay, so this last ride. Oh. What's funny is Deadwood, the shot.
Yeah.
It was actually in South Dakota. I was on the east, but it was actually in South Dakota. We have very little things that happen that just absolutely love to make us go, yay. But anyways, so this guy here, this novel, I yield the floor.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of westerns. Always have been. I love any kind of westerns, whether it's movies or TV show. One of my favorite movies growing up was TV shows growing up was Have Gun Will Travel. and Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen. And as I got older, I really loved reading novels like Louis L'Amour spaghetti westerns. He's got a billion of them, but I've probably read a good 24 of his spaghetti westerns, and loved one of my favorite movies of all time. Is a little cliche, but I love it still. Is Tombstone. And then She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, McLaughlin, anything with the Duke in it. So I decided, this was probably about 12 years ago or so. We had just moved up from Florida. I lived in Florida. My wife and I grew up in Ohio. I moved to Florida. My wife and I met. Then we moved up to upstate New York, where she's from. That's where we live now.
Oh,
and
God,
I was, all over the place.
Sorry,
yeah.
I gotta tell you this. Okay, so imagine this.
Mhm.
Me, about 16,
Mhm.
visiting New York with my family, my second cousins, my buddy, good friend of mine, close friend of mine, his grandfather, my grandfather, twins. We're up there for his aunt's daughters getting married, and so I just went up there to Jersey, and it was really cool with Philly to see the His Stories thing. But I'm in New York, and my ass is just like a New Yorker, just cut across the street whenever I feel like it, and all this other stuff on there. And mind you, again, I was 16, 38 now, 22 years later. Sorry, it just is like, when you mentioned that, I had those flashbacks to like, Dusty, get your ass out of here. What? I'm fine. I'm in my element right now, it seems like. But
it's funny.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Bro.
Yeah, no. So then, when we moved up, I still wasn't quite ready to create comic books full time. I was still doing some stuff, doing some smaller page stuff, sequentials for some smaller companies. But I said, I've got, I know I've got to start this. So when we moved up here, I didn't quite have a job. I was substituting, and I was working at other little small jobs to be able to kind of keep food on the table. We had 2 small children at the time, and just kind of working my butt off. And I found myself in front of my computer, typing away more than I had before in the past. And before I knew it, I had 3 or 4 chapters of The Last Ride to Tyburn. And it really is, for me, it was at beginning, it was, can I do this? Can I write a whole book and have the story make sense and have all the characters do things that are normal that people would do in these situations, but also throw in situations that maybe people that love Westerns or just love stories had never seen before. I love being able to try to come up with a different angle, different thing to be able to have, like all writers do, to be able to find different ways to be able to tell these stories. And before I knew it, I had a whole book. And it was one of the things that really gave me the confidence to say, gosh, if I can do this, I can create comic books. I can do it visually also. So when I finished this book, started kind of, showing it to my wife, showing it to my parents, showing it to my brothers and sisters, and they, they're family, so they have to say positive things. Right. But there were a couple of people I showed it to that did not have to say positive things. And they read it and said positive things to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, don't just say positive things to say positive. Like, tell me what you think. They're like, man, if I hated it, I'd tell you. And he's like, a couple of people were like, I really loved it. It was great. The story was good. The characters were fun. There were some things in there that were different and funny and weird that I'd never seen in a Western before. And there's a lot of things in there I put in to make my friends and family laugh, that make me laugh also. So it was really my opportunity. Yeah. Yeah, it was really my opportunity to be able to tell a story from beginning to end in a long format like this that I had never done before, and I love the way it turned out. If you're a fan of Westerns, I think anybody, any reviewers, anybody who's a fan of Westerns will like it, and I think it starts in one way and then it turns a corner at the end, and I think the climax that I have at the ending throws a little wrench in the works, and it goes in a way that I don't think people would. Until they look back at some of the things that had happened, wouldn't expect for it to end that way. And I think it's a really fun book. And if reviewers give it a shot, tell me what you think. I'd love to hear any feedback. I'm a big fan of feedback.
Well, I'll tell you this, brother, right now, anything I were to read, anything like that, yeah, I would definitely, because it doesn't help you blowing smoke up your ass, because you want to put out quality for people that's the best thing ever, is to get it from any kind of different, different personalities and views.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
for instance, where I tell people this too, I know what I'm into, and manga to,
Mhm.
comedy to sci-fi to, that range.
Mhm.
And there's aspects I won't necessarily like, or so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
again, you know, I'm the very same way. My friend actually too also said, and this was a big thing I'm working on, but doing these shows has also helped me, in
Mhm.
all honesty. Like I said, I'm open book to kind of run a little bit out of my system,
Mhm.
being able to just really jam with people. So that way, when at work, when I'm in meetings and stuff like that, where I know
Mhm.
I have to work on being on point and this and that,
Mhm.
that it's helps on there, and I'm getting feedback and whatnot, and I just flat out say it. That's what I'm grateful for, and I'm grateful for meeting people such as yourself
Right.
and all of this here, and so looking forward to everything else and doing more.
Mhm.
I'm hoping with you, you know what I mean. I hope
Mhm.
on this here was great there, and I'm gonna be putting on blast the amount of different the amount of different it'll come to me, but the amount of different, just a little something for, here's a little something for what you might be interested into, or
Yeah.
it's always about getting different takes on life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's always about getting different takes on life. It's like
Right.
what you write on here. I already have in my head different people, that I could say, you know what, dude, you really need to talk to David on this. Or, hey, David, dude, here's my boy here. You guys, I think would be great. You guys maybe jam. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. You
Yeah.
know, I expect, just like how we talked, that there's a courtesy and professionalism aspect of it. But that's also why on
Of course.
aspects I would say I would not tell you to with so and so, because I know. You know what I mean? As I've
Sure.
grown, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna throw shade or
Of
nothing
course.
on there.
Of
But
course.
man alive, dude, David, I wasn't expecting all this.
Mhm.
And I mean this in a very positive, awesome way,
Awesome. Well, thank you, man.
that you, my friend, are on the grind. One of the most incredible, I mean, just all around. I mean, doing everything on this is insane,
Mm.
but a great, again, in all positive aspects, all positive manners, um, terrific, and I so cannot wait to hook up with you again, and whether it be again doing this, and I try to find prime time slots. But what I do love about this is that people can go back, and I found I have
Yeah.
to view. I'm one of them that I'll replay them in the background while I'm doing this or that, because I record, because it's special to me,
Sure.
and I download, and
Yeah.
just all that there. So for people that do watch, uh, David, if you mind, just real quick, if you want to, I like to hear it from there. Quick bio, and like with the Offspring here, what as far as like contact too, because the big thing right now, I can tell you this
Mhm.
is too, is that if you were interested, I know a bunch, that do a lot of variant covers. I
Mhm.
try and tell people don't go so freaking overboard, because
Yeah.
from a business analyst aspect and from a buyer's aspect, I try to offer that. But
Yeah.
so about yourself, and working on, looking to do. I mean, obviously we hit a lot on there, but I'd love
Yeah.
to kind of summarize.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said it perfect. As I'm just a big fan of different genres and trying to make as many different kind of stories as I can. My battle cry is quick but quality. If it's not going well, I stop and assess and make sure that it's going make sure that I'm pushing forward in the right direction, because I want people to read these stories. I want people to enjoy them reading them as much as I enjoy making them. You can find everything that I create on correcthandedcomics.com. I do a lot of social media stuff. I do a lot of free giveaways. Actually, for your viewers, if anybody finds me on Facebook or Twitter at either David Whalen or Correct Handed Comics, and they private message me or DM me, I'll get them a free digital copy of any one of my one-shots. If they message me, just mention you and mention this show and say, hey, I heard about whatever one-shot they liked, or said, hey, just pick one for me and send it, I'll send them a free digital one-shot. So if they mention you and ask me for one shot, they'll get it. They'll get it for free, because I love being able to reach out to different people and different viewers to be able to do that. Anything on social media, try to do some free giveaway stuff and some different kind of things on social media. If you on any social media, if you type in Correct Handed or Correct Handed Comics, you'll find me. I'll pop up there. And correcthandedcomics.com is links to everything and anything I've ever created since the day I was born.
That is awesome. Boy, I'll tell you what, David, I'm gonna put that on blast, because a lot of times when people hear free or anything like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even just to read through, it's going to be, this year goes I love going to my personal one. Then my production it kind of started out, but then also my YouTube channel, which I'm trying to grow with enough subscribers to make it a legit URL, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, I look so forward to supporting and to, putting this out on blast, because I have so much respect for what you're doing and how you're doing it. I really look forward to just talking and doing what I can and working with you, or do what I can for you as well. I always say too, I'm horrible at that with myself, with also saying, on the whole, just, what I do, and it ain't shit, I don't even know if anybody did, kind of thing. I'm horrible at that, but I still going to do it. But it's because I love to. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have this on blast for you on there. You'll probably hear from me in a little bit, actually, as well. But I so appreciate you reaching out to me. I so appreciate you taking the time, really more than anything, David, honestly, to take the time that you have and really run through everything on here. This was so fun, dude. This was so fun and in depth with everything, man. You were the passion.
I always make the joke that you'd have to chop up my arms to get me to stop making comic books, and still I'd probably find a way.
Well, there's some stuff I got coming up, and if it is what it is, it still ain't gonna stop me from trying to do all this new stuff that has hit my head and how to improve on and do, but also just kind of having fun with whatever I can. And actually, dude, kind of do like you said. I'd be interested to just see what pours out of my head just sitting down, because I used to just write on certain things. It was more of journaling, but I've always told people too that have kind of gone through stuff. I was helping a family member going through divorce stuff. I said, just you're sitting there, you're sitting in your truck for XYZ time. I said, just humor me. I said, just humor me and just, write it all out. And you're like, oh, just kind of fight me out. And I'm like, just humor me. Next thing I know, I get a message saying, dude, I did not realize I had all that. And this and that. I said, I was, before JC passed, I was looking to go back to school, get my master's in any kind of clinical counseling, and was looking to open up Stronghold, Arizona. And he was okay with me running it, this and that. But even though it's there, I feel like to bring his legacy still around here, and by helping and doing this stuff here. And I feel like it's really guided by bringing great people like yourself to learn to on all that there. So
well, I really appreciate you having me on, Dustin. It's been a fun time. I love doing deep dives on stuff like this and hearing things from different perspectives, and it's been really fun. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, dude, David, I can't thank you enough for that. That means the world to me too, from the bottom of my heart, for real, man. Because as this has started off, it's been such a blessing. You've been such a blessing to be on here. This was so cool too. like you said, to go on the deep dive like this was,
Mhm.
I loved it, brother. I loved it, man. You were just, it was blew me away. It just
Oh, man.
did. It just blew me away, honestly, in such a great way that I cannot wait. I think there's so many people too that can, or and all that, everything in there. So, dude, I so hope that you do, and I so hope we can work on another time again where to get you out on this here, because I do. There's people on this, man, and so look forward to it, man. So look forward to it. So thank you so
Sounds
much,
great,
David, and look forward to staying in touch with you and see what you do. Always up for all that too. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man. It's been fun. I really appreciate you having me on.
Always, man. And I look forward to doing it again, brother. You have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, David here, I'll have everything on blast if anybody's watching for all the links and everything there. And I'll summarize as well on another post coming up when I do my blast on that. So, David, bless you, man. Be safe. Be safe. Mad love to you and your family, bro.
Thank you. You too. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Take care, man.
Have a great rest of your Thursday.
You too, brother. Once again, everybody, I cannot express the love, the everything on this. This show with David was just amazing. Meeting great people like this was just insane. I'm even just soaking a lot of it in, and it's what's so great is that it's just all right there, and I love it. And so, to each and every one of you that do view and have helped with the support, just know how much I love you and how blessed I am. Just thank you. I mean, words, there's a lot of times the words can't describe, but hopefully you can hear it and hear it from my heart. And David too, man, just so much respect. That dude's on his grind. And in this time too, there's all this stuff on here. Take a shot. You never know what you might be interested in until you try it out. Give it a read. If you don't, what's the harm? So what I've tried on certain things, just don't, sit in a bathtub with broken glass, and try that out. I don't think that'd be a great time. So, but anyways, mad love to everybody. David, thank you so much. I appreciate you. So look forward to working with you again. And with that being said, Depop, D the Villain is out. You guys have a great one. Take care of yourself. Love one another and show love to all those as well because it's free. Peace out.